So if you look at this, we have these two tables, right? Employee table, department table. And then we are joining and making a view out of these two tables. I'm selecting the ID, name, gender from this employee table. And I'm joining department table based on this department ID, right? These two tables are related with a primary key, foreign key relationship, okay? That's why I'm having this HR, payroll, IT, admin, IT, HR, and so on. Now, let's say if I want to insert a valued row to this view, this values, ID will be 7, name this, gender this, and department is IT, okay? So now what happens is, okay, SQL Server will bring this. Since the view doesn't actually have any data, it's just pulling the data from two different tables, right? It doesn't contain the actual data. It's using the two tables to bring that data. Now it has to insert the row into these two tables, right? So it should insert this 7 name and female to this table. And then at the same time, this IT value should go to this table, right? Yeah. Now, if you look at this, there is already a record that says IT. Okay? Yeah. And since this is a primary key column, and since this should be only one time, SQL Server will say, okay, there is already an IT. What should I do? Should I insert this? If it inserts it, it will have two ITs, and then this relationship breaks. If it has two ITs and there's what should it put for this department ID after? Okay. If it puts 5 to this department ID and there is no 5 in this department ID, so it cannot use that.
Yeah.
So it gets confused. So okay, if I insert this to this values, what should I insert here? And if I insert this IT, even though it exists, what should I insert here? That's when the SQL Server gets confused. Okay, because in a foreign key primary key relationship, you will have these values should exist here. Okay, you cannot have any value that doesn't exist here. And now we're inserting this IT here, but we're not inserting anything here for the department ID. And so what should this department ID have here then? Okay. So now this is the SQL Server gets confused, and it will not let you update the these two base tables. Okay, so what should we do in this case? We should so that's why when you use the instead of insert trigger, the correct way of doing it would be taking this department ID, like new. If I want to insert this IT here, I should take the department ID for that and then bring it here and insert the department ID here, right? For this new row. Okay, that way it would make sense. Okay, what I'm trying to do is, okay, I'm inserting another department here. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm taking the ID and then bringing it to this employee table and putting that ID into department ID and then putting this rest of the 3 rows here. That way it would be correct, right? So now when you insert this, what SQL Server does is it will fire this instead of insert trigger, and instead of inserting this values into this view, which it can do, it will take this value and insert it here, and then take the corresponding ID from that and bring it here, and then insert this rest of the 3 values here. Okay? Yeah. That's what it should do. That would be the correct way of doing it. For that, we'll create this instead of insert trigger. Then now what we're saying is we're declaring a department ID so that we will capture the new department ID from here. That will, if we insert the IT here again, it will have another department ID here, and then we will take that department ID and bring it here, right? So that's what we're doing. We're saying, okay, select department ID and put it into this department ID variable from tbuild department table, and then we're joining that virtual table, which is the inserted table. Okay, so when you do the insert, this table also will store that ID, right? On inserted department name equals to tbuild department name.
Yeah.
Let's see that in action. First, let's take it step by step, so that it will make sense. So in our case, what we'll do is, like for insertion, right? Let's say we want to insert a new row to this view, okay? To this view. Let's actually do that. Insert into this values okay, let's say values will be 3010. It will be a new customer. Name for that customer will be, say, Jack Sparrow. And the customer, I mean the salesman for that customer will be also 5010, and the name of the customer will be John Adams. Okay. So now if I execute this, it will throw me an error, right? Because it will say it's using the multiple tables, and it makes sense because if you look at this, if I insert this here, insert this one here, this here, and this here, I'm basically trying to split this row into two tables. So basically, these values should go to the customer table. These values should go to the assessment table, right? So for that, the correct way of doing it would be, I should basically insert this salesman first, right? And then take the salesman ID and insert that salesman ID into this customer table's salesman ID, right?
Yeah.
And then it would make sense. And then insert this 2 as a new row for this one. Okay? That is what we'll try to do now. So I will create a trigger called trigger insert into view, and then let me copy the syntax instead of typing. So on, I'm trying to insert into this view, okay? This view, and I should say instead of insert.
Mhm.
So I say as begin and end. So now this is the like basic syntax for this, right? And then we should do this logic here. Okay, what we're trying to do now is I should first declare. So actually, you know what? We'll do this. Instead of that, let's first select all from inserted and also delete it. Okay? So that first you will see what's happening. Okay, we have this trigger. Now if I run this statement, instead of running this, now it shouldn't give me an error because it will not do this, but it will do this thing now, right? You see, now what's happening? Now if I try to insert into this view these two values, instead of throwing me an error, because we said only select from this inserted and deleted virtual tables, now this is what's getting inserted into this inserted table, okay?
Yeah.
Now what I should do is I should take this ID, okay?
Yeah.
Insert that into salesman table, okay? Based on the insert that into salesman table, and then based on the ID of the salesman, I should insert the same this two, whatever the ID is this, I should insert this two into the customer table. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do here also. Declare this, and they're capturing the department ID. In our case, it's the salesman ID from the salesman table. The inserted, okay. The salesman name equals to salesman name of this inserted. Okay. Now let's do that logic. So now what I'm doing is declaring a variable called salesman ID, and it's going to be an integer. Now what I'll try to do is I will select the department ID, okay, from TBL department inserted table on the department name equals to department name. In our case, it will be the salesman name equals to salesman name. Okay, so I'm basically trying to pick up this one from the inserted table. Okay. Select salesman ID equals to now this ID, right, from the inserted table.
Yeah.
From, I will say salesman table, and I'm joining the salesman table with inserted table. On saying, let's say salesman as inserted I, and this will be ID on inserted name equals to salesman name. Okay, so basically I'm finding the same sales in the salesman table, and I'm taking the ID of that same salesman.
Yeah.
And then I'm inserting into the employee table, in our case, into this view now. Okay. After I'm taking that, I'm inserting into now in our case it will be the customer table. Insert into customer. Okay.
Mhm.
And I need to also specify for that customer table.
Mhm.
And we're not specifying. Okay, we'll do the grades and all that also. Values, and then for the values, you see, for the values, I'm inserting the select ID, name, gender, and department ID from the inserted.
Mhm.
Okay. So for the values, I'll do select from the inserted. Now what we'll do is, I guess this is already, but let's see if it's still there. Okay, yeah, it's already gone. So I guess we have to do it again, but it's okay. We'll try to follow this logic. ID, name, gender, and department ID inserted. We'll select customer ID, name, city. Instead of the salesman ID, now I will select this variable because I am getting the value for this variable from the inserted table, right? And then also grade, also grade. Okay.
Mhm.
From inserted table. Okay.
Mhm.
So now, I guess this should be it. So now what happens is when I try to insert into this table, into this, we have to also modify this view, but it's okay. I'll remove this grade and CT from it because we don't have these columns in our view, right? We only have this customer ID, customer name, and salesman ID, and okay, and we'll remove also this customer ID, customer name, and then salesman ID. The rest will be null, basically. From inserted, okay. Let's see now. Okay, okay. Now let's review this before we execute. So now what we're trying to do. Whenever I run this statement, right, I'm trying to insert into this view that is using two tables.
Yeah.
Therefore, I cannot insert because there is more than one base table, and that's why you get this error.
Yeah.
Well, we have this trigger that's instead of doing that, it's selecting these two things. Okay. I do this now in my inserted table, I will have these values. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I'm trying to do is I am basically separating this values. This two should go to customer table. This should go to the salesman table, right?
Yeah.
And then my view after that will select from those customer and salesman table at the end.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to split this row into two parts and make this to go to customer table and this to go to salesman table.
Mhm.
So therefore, I'm saying, okay, I'm declaring this variable, so I need to capture this ID first, right?
Mhm.
So that I will, after I will insert that ID to salesman table, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm saying select um, salesman, select this ID. I is the inserted table, in this case, this table, right?
Mhm.
I am selecting this ID and putting that inside this sale ID variable.
Mhm.
And I'm joining the salesman table with the inserted table and looking up the names. So basically, what I'm trying to do is, since this inserted has this, now it will go to that table, right? So I'm looking up this name in the salesman table
Mhm.
and finding the ID of that person in the inserted table, and then putting that ID into the sale ID.
Mhm.
And then I am inserting into the customer table
Yeah.
the values, select customer ID from this inserted, okay?
Mhm.
Customer ID goes to customer ID in the table,
Mhm.
and customer name, this customer name goes to the customer name in the customer table from this inserted table. This ID goes to the salesman ID column in the customer table, okay?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? What we're trying to do is we're basically like when you create this foreign key related tables, what you do is you first create the child table, right? You have this all four values, and then from there you pull that as a foreign key to the parent table, right? So your parent tables column will always have the values that are only that exist in that child table.
Yeah.
We are trying to replicate that process in this logic.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to basically first insert this value to a child table. Then from there, I'm pulling the value, inserting that into this parent table.
Mhm.
Okay. So insert into this values, select this from inserted. Let's see, it looks like there's some syntax errors, but let's see what it will say. Okay. There's a syntax error here. Insert person. Select this, 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 inserted. Okay, let's check the syntax. This, select, oh, okay. There shouldn't be any actually, this part, values and all that. Inserted. Okay, now let's create this trigger. Instead of insert trigger already exists in this object. Oh, okay. I guess there is already an instead of trigger on this object. Let's first drop this trigger and then recreate it. It's saying because we already created this once, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now let's try to um, create this. Okay. Now we have created this. Okay. So now let's try to insert this. What happens? See, one row affected, one row affected. Now, if I select everything from this view, I should get that new value, right?
Yeah.
Which was which one did we insert? This what is this view actually selecting? I forgot. We should have gotten this and this, right? Okay, let's
Mm,
select these two tables and see if we actually have those. Did we insert it somewhere else or something? Josie, Claudia. Oh, okay. Yeah, here's the new value for the customer. And what was the second? John Adams, 510. ABC 510. Oh, this might have been let's make this not 510, but let's make it 610 and see what happens. This 410. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
410, Jack Sparrow is there. And it was 610. Oh, I think we are missing something here. It's not. Oh. Oh, okay. So our tables are not actually related, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they were actually related, then you would have taken this number. Like, these are not foreign key primary key related. That's why it's showing null here. You see?
Yeah. That's fine. Waiting for the transfer. That's why.
Yeah. This you see, these tables are not actually related, right? We don't have that foreign key primary key constraints here.
Yeah.
I've pulled that from there, right? But let's try to change this and see what happens. Alter trigger. Instead of this, I will take the SID and see what happens, okay? And successful. Now let's try to insert this 410 and 610. Okay, one row. And now let's select from these two tables. 410, 410. Okay, it's 3 times the 410. Where's the 610? 610. 610 is not, still not there. And if we do this, what happens now? It's equals to this.